First, I'd like to say thank you to both the Fellowship Council and to SAGES for inviting us to speak. I would like to go on record and say that if you guys are putting in collective tickets to the lottery that I'm in, and would be happy to participate in that. Following the instruction letter that I received on presenters, here's my disclaimer slide. I am an employee of Ethicon Endosurgery. For any of you that haven't been, this is our facility in Cincinnati, Ohio. The facility was created in 1992. We have about 150,000 square feet. And at any given year, we have probably about 6,000 visitors, primarily physicians and paraprofessionals, and primarily for educational purposes. Most of you have seen our credo, and I think the first line of this is kind of why we're in the business of funding fellowships, not really the business, but why we feel so strongly that it's an important endeavor, that we do believe our first responsibility is to our customers, to our physicians, and are really in it to provide or help provide better patient outcomes. So going back a little bit to the history, we all know that the first lap chole was in 1988. The institute itself, which was opened in 1992, was largely opened to try to accommodate the increased needs for training as minimally invasive surgery expanded very rapidly after that time. As best as I can figure out, Ethicon began funding fellowships in approximately 1994. And those first fellowships were funded primarily to friends of the business, and it was done very differently back then. We all know we're living in a little bit of a different world with much more scrutiny and a lot more rules. And so the process internally has changed a lot. And in 2005, we were required to come up with a different model for funding fellowships. And that model was essentially a blinded application process. The questions that were asked and the things that were reviewed by the panel were actually many of the things that the Fellowship Council has on its site. So we kind of shamelessly stole from the criteria that the Fellowship Council already had put out there. But even since 2005, when we did this blinded process, the world has continued to change. There are more rules and regulations placed on us, both internally and externally. There's, as everybody knows, and I've sat through many meetings this week talking about conflict of interest and outside views and scrutiny on what industry and the relationships between industry and professionals. So about a year ago, we began conversations with the Fellowship Council about, is there a different way that we can continue to provide funding that's not run directly through industry? Just again, a little bit of a historical perspective. Over the last 3 years, EES has supported more than 150 MIS and bariatric fellows. We also do support GYN, thoracic, ENT, and some plastics subspecialty fellows. So again, we talked about the relationship that we tried to create with the Fellowship Council. And I have to give a great deal of thanks to Barbara and to Lee and Bruce and Raul, who I don't see here, because there's been a lot of work that's been done over the past year to try to get this up and running. And you know, you all know that what was formed, again, was the Foundation for Surgical Fellowships. And moving forward, for the 2011-2012 year, the MIS, the bariatric, and the colorectal fellows that we have historically funded will now be funded through the fellowship, the foundation. Our hopes are that we can push all of our fellowships through the foundation eventually. So the thoracic and the GYN and anything that we would normally fund, we're hoping to try to funnel through the foundation. We've heard also that we don't know what's coming in the future, but somehow I can't imagine that the need for advanced training beyond residency is going to go away. Even if changes happen in resident education, there are going to continue to be advancements in technology, and I think the need to support education beyond residence. So we're here. We feel it's important to support those increased training endeavors. So again, I thank you, and I know there's going to be questions at the end.